Hi, I'm John Cruz III, founder of Garage and Life Media, and I thoroughly enjoyed my conversation with my next guest. Many home gym owners struggle to connect the different aspects of their training and nutrition. That's why I was so excited to talk to Alina Radinsky. Alina looks at everything from nutrition to strength training through the lens of whether it supports her goals as a martial artist. We talk about her journey as a martial artist and a nutrition coach, and Alina also gives tips on how to incorporate fasting into your nutritional practice to repair metabolic damage and help with inflammation. Check it out. Alina, hey, thank you so much for spending time with me. I have been kind of like when I told Holly and Aaron, I've been borderline stalking you. But I was borderline stalking them, and I've been kind of borderline stalking you too. And I know it's so tough because it was on Instagram. I bet you get like tons of weirdos, and you're like, oh boy, here comes another one. But I am so glad that you took time to actually talk to me and our viewers today. Thank you.
Thank you for reaching out. I'm excited.
A lot of the times people assume that martial arts is only something that can be done in a community environment. And I agree that martial arts is best done in a community environment because you can learn from each other. I mean, you can only shadow box so much before you need the stimulus and the feedback from a live partner. But it's possible to train it by yourself, right? Or else generations of Chinese monks would have died the first time they got into combat. So I love that, and I want to talk about that with you, and so that we can kind of give some tidbits and nuggets for our viewers who may be interested in duplicating your journey. Okay. So that journey started, from what I could tell, in 1995 when you got your orange belt in Taekwondo. Was that your first experience with martial arts?
Yeah, I was a small kid then when we first came to Canada. So that was the first time my parents and my sister wanted me to learn how to fight.
Okay.
Something good for a girl. And it suited my personality. I loved kicking and punching things, and probably best to get that out of my system in a dojo.
And so your parents are like, all right, you've kicked the last lampshade. Let's go put you somewhere where you can.
Pretty much.
That's hilarious. That's funny because I have a daughter. She's 5 years old, and she has so much. I mean, we have boys as well. The boys are pretty much all. Our youngest boy is 16. The other ones are grown up and they're out of the house. But none of them had the energy that my daughter has, and it's just crazy. So I can just see your parents like, we've got to do something. We've got to do something. Well, you didn't stop with Taekwondo. Instead, I mentioned to you that I think you have a Jeet approach to training. I think you were heavily influenced by Jesse Glover.
Yeah, that was my first.
This is something most people don't know, but Jesse Glover, who happened to be Black, was Bruce Lee's first student in the United States. So you said that on your website, it says that you started exploring non-classical Kung Fu when you were looking for something beyond boot camp. What led you to train that way, as opposed to just saying, well, I'm just going to go back to Taekwondo? Why did you choose non-classical Kung Fu?
So I didn't actually choose NCGF. I didn't know what it was. It was by accident. And some of the best things that come into life are an accident. I know that, so just going back to the boot camp, I was feeling ripped off that I'm spending so many hours and just not getting any tools under my belt. Like it just didn't feel useful. And I had been backpacking and kind of dealt with something. I was grabbed and I right hooked him. My initial reaction was to right hook him with my camera. He dropped to the ground, and then I didn't know how to follow it up. So anyway, that worked out fine. It was okay. But when I came back, I decided, okay, I'm done with boot camp. I need to learn some self-defense.
Okay.
And I wasn't really interested in doing like a belt system, BJJ. I just wanted something immediate, something that I could take to the street right away.
Right.
So I found this community, and through that those were the basics that I started learning NCGF, and then I started discovering what this was and about Jesse Glover, and then through that I met more people in that community, and a lot of it was FMA, C-Lot, and then it was just kind of this jumble of all these different beautiful arts. So started with self-defense interest, and then it kind of went on to loving weapons and loving all this other creative stuff that I started discovering.
Okay. Yeah, it's funny because the the first thing you say when you're like, I decided I needed to train. I'm like, so I'm seeing like the Kung Fu movie montage. She goes and she trains and she comes back and finds the guy, gets justice. Now she
I will
fights
not
crime at
fly all
night.
the way back to Vietnam.
Now she fights crime at night. Oh, wow. So non-classical Kung Fu is what Bruce Lee was teaching, as opposed to they eventually became what most people call Jeet Kune Do, or what some people call Jung Fan Jeet Kune Do, is basically not just Wing Chun Kung Fu. Instead, it's starting to incorporate boxing and other things into it. And then Silat is the Indonesian martial art that's so cool. They got like the little toe knives and everything. You think you're winning the fight, and then, oh wait, brutal. I'm bleeding out because it cut me in the artery with the little toe knife. Nobody thinks toe knife when you go in a fight. And then FML, Filipino martial arts was the other thing you said, right? Yeah. Okay, so yeah, that one is the thing I wanted to teach my daughter because it's invented by women. I'm like, this is a martial art that women used to defeat the Spaniards when they came to the Philippines, you know? So I'm not surprised that you were attracted to it. Is it because it doesn't take a ton of strength, although you're very strong? Is that what you liked about it the most?
I appreciate, so both FMA and CLOT, the systems that I was learning, I appreciated that. I have a small person complex. I'm 5'1", so I'm just like that angry dog that's yapping at all the big people. I just want to kick their ass. So I appreciated that these two arts were very well suited for my body type. Okay. So not always, right? Like, I mean, you'll go to different seminars, different CLOT seminars, and it's a 6-foot guy teaching the seminar. So what works for him is not going to work for me. But traditionally, what I was learning, I felt like it really translated well to my body type.
And I told you, I warned you, this is going to go off on tangents, right? And we just did one. Right? So anybody that wants to see some good flows and see what we're talking about, they just need to just check out Alina's Instagram, and we'll be giving, it's at Radinsky, but we're going to be giving you guys that later on as well. And you'll see like, oh, well, this is something that it looks pretty, but I promise you it works. I mean, I've had to use it for various reasons, whatever, in like real life situations. And I promise you it works. So having said that, I said that it's interesting and it's flowy, but it's interesting that you combine it with strength training. You had a nice quote in 2017 that stood out to me. You said, my body changes each month depending on my martial arts goals. So one month my deltoids will pop, another month my traps. I'll focus on one thing to get good at it, then I regress as I move on to another goal. It's been interesting to see the many changes over the few years, and it stopped being about aesthetics for me since I fell in love with martial arts, and I like it that way. So it looks like you approach your strength training from the standpoint of doing whatever makes you a better martial artist, but you've also said that it balances and grounds you mentally. So talk about the dynamic of picking exercises that make you a better martial artist versus exercises that ground you mentally.
I mean, martial arts is what that's how I get into my zone. So I'll really have the two, right? I mean, my warm-up will be inspired by martial arts, or even during the movement, I'm focusing on how does this movement translate to something happening in the street or whatever the situation. Like, I'm always visualizing things in my head. But yeah, it took me some time to learn not to get frustrated with the regressions, because there's so many different arts I was studying, and I can't do it all at the same time. I can't be good at everything at the same time. So my focus was JKD to start with, and just all that chain punching, just deltoids popping. So whatever got me fast. So I would do lots of resistance band training. I got really fast, really strong. And then I went to amateur boxing, and I just couldn't do the type of strength training I was doing. So I really had to wind back on that.
That's why the traps got bigger, because of the boxing.
Yeah. So I started accepting the journey and appreciating it and not panicking. Oh no, this is getting smaller and I'm not as fast, but this other thing is getting so much better.
When you said, okay, this grounds me, anybody who's watching this who is a lifter will kind of relate to the idea that, there's that meme, sometimes it's about therapy. You're not even lifting for a physical goal. It's just, I needed to do heavy deadlifts that day because rough day at work, it's whatever. I needed to deadlift. I went on program and I deadlifted. And then there's also the, okay, well, people get the pump. They're like, oh man, I felt so good. I got a good pump. I feel good. Now I can go into that meeting at work and I'm ready for it, that kind of thing, right? But I mean, you had the thing where you said you were doing calf raises. And you're like, yeah, I'm training my closing distance muscles, right? So that's what I mean by it. It's like, okay, no, actually, I like that because most people like my calves. I mean, you know how many people skip? Well, heck, all you have to do is put everybody in shorts, and we'll see how many people skip calves, right? And you're looking at like, okay, if I train my calves, I can get from where I am to within reach of my opponent faster, and it also is going to make my punch, every jab I throw is going to be harder because my calves are stronger. Every right cross is going to be harder because my calves are stronger. Every evasion is going to be, especially if I'm, not to get in the weeds with C-stepping and all that, but every evasion is going to be more dynamic because my calves are stronger. That's what I mean by it's so, you're really thinking like an athlete, whereas so many people who train at home are mostly just like, I just lift.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're a trainer, so you train clients and all that. So is it tough to get them into that mindset to say, okay, look, we're trying to build something here. You know, don't worry about what you just saw on Instagram.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if most of them would follow. I don't know how many of them are on Instagram, but the type of clientele I have, they're not the bodybuilder type. And some of them have never lifted in their lives and they just didn't know that they would actually enjoy it. Most of them are getting older and I just want to build up bone density, make sure they're strong, good balance. If they fall one day, 10 years from now, they don't break a hip, you know, so I'm training them for life and they appreciate that. And I think that's become their main goal as well for the most part.
So do you train people, obviously you train people in martial arts because you're an instructor, but is there overlap? So that your personal training clients are also martial arts clients and vice versa?
A little bit. Majority are personal training. Minority are martial arts, either for the cognitive aspect, like early onset dementia. Somehow they found me for colleague training, self-defense. But sometimes they want a mixture of strength training and self-defense, for example. It just makes them feel like they can take on more and punch harder, and the satisfaction of the two marry well together.
I think I said to you, like in the questions I sent you, you know, a lot of times the Western inclination is to buy a gadget, you know, so that we can correct a mobility issue. But some monk in a temple somewhere 1,000 years ago figured out a free solution that we're just not aware of because, you know, we're not in that paradigm. We're not in that life. So that's one reason, again, why I like to bring people on who come from a different perspective, because you're going to say things just in passing that someone who only focuses on bench, squat, deadlift, or snatch, clean, and jerk wouldn't know about, because it would never occur to them to even move that way. You know what I mean? Have you found that that's something that, like, sometimes you're telling somebody they've lifted for years, you say, oh, well, just do this, and it's a martial arts thing, and they're like, oh, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, even something as simple as I'll slow things down so much that it won't necessarily look combative. So the client may not know that it's a martial arts warm-up or activity, but I'll just have them really, really slow kick. So you raise your knee, you extend, and you slow it down to 5 seconds, 10 seconds, as slow as you can go, as slow as your body can handle it. And then reverse that. And then you're balancing on the one leg constantly. So it's like, it kind of gamifies it. It's this challenge with the balance. And then they're also struggling to extend their leg and keep it lifted, and all these different angles on the right side, for example. So they enjoy it.
I was gonna tease you about using your cat scratching pose for stick drills, but really a good example of what we're talking about is people for hip activation. For example, people like to use like a hip band, right? There's all these different whatever. So like the hip circle was the first one in there. So people like to put the band on, and then they'll do like X-band walks or something like that to kind of activate glutes and their hips before they squat. And I said, well, you could also just do slow kicks. You
Yeah.
could do some of the tire, the Muay Thai drill where you stand on the tire. And
Yeah.
you do like, yeah, okay.
Oh,
So you do like
yeah.
little squats or whatever. Yeah, I'm like, you just do that. It's the same. Those are free. I mean, heck, every tire I have in here is free. I got from somewhere.
Yeah.
They're like, they were glad to get rid of it. So that's what I mean. It's like, it's especially now where equipment is difficult to get a hold of. Those are the things I'm looking at, like, hey, let's free your mind a little bit and look for some free options that don't require you to have to pay for stuff. So what are some inexpensive hacks that, besides using your cat scratching post as a target, what are some inexpensive hacks you have that you draw on in your own training or with your clients?
Well, with clients, especially new ones, I'll start with the feet. So everything is just forefoot balance, ball smashing, trying to be distracted with ball tosses and other things while trying to balance on the forefoot. Once the foot is released and I have confidence progressing through the rest of the body, then I'll carry on. But all you need is your body. I mean, before I ever stepped into a real gym, I was already jacked. I looked like someone that saw me in the gym asked if I was training for a body competition of some sort, and I laughed. I said, "This is my first day, and I have no idea what I'm doing here."
That's funny. So let's go the other direction. A lot of times martial artists, as you mentioned, are not really into strength training because they think it's just not important. I get all of the fitness I need from just doing, from just practicing my art. When the reality is that a lot of strength training actually came from martial arts. You've got I really don't remember the name of the thing. What are those Chinese weights that like the square weights that the Kung Fu people used to lift?
I've never used them. I can't remember.
But you know what I'm talking about. They have these weights or whatever they use. Yeah. So martial artists used to lift weights because, I mean, obviously some of them had manual labor jobs, and so they were naturally strong. They just needed to develop a way to defend themselves from bandits. But now we have people who are becoming martial artists who may not have manual labor jobs. They're office workers. And so they don't understand why you need to get stronger in order for that technique to actually work. Is it a hard sell to get them to come on board with you to say, okay, look, let's do some strength training in other, because it's going to make you a better martial artist?
Yeah, I was exactly the same. I judged going to the gym. I thought, why am I going to do these deadlifts and bench presses? I work out every single day, sweating my ass off. Why do this? But I got convinced, and it started when I wanted to get competitive. Okay. So I wanted to test my limits, and there's just no way around it. You have to get stronger, especially if you're small. Right. So I had to get pumped up, and the best way with clients, especially the ones who don't want to go that route, just demo. Give them a very strong punch, have them hold the pad, and they'll be like, oh, cool. Okay. Most people, if they look at me, they'll never expect that much power through a strike. So one good demo, and they're like, okay, convinced. Let's go.
I want to, before we go any further, you mentioned internal martial arts, because you said that's going to be something that you'll do when you get older, more of when you get older. Mm-hmm. Bud Jeffries, I don't know if you're familiar with him, but Bud Jeffries is a performing strongman. Bud is extremely strong. But he said that he does Qigong because it helps him be under heavy loads without having to be stiff, if that makes sense. Yeah. A lot of times you see like an elite strength athlete and they look good under the bar, but then they look horrible getting out of bed, getting off the couch, walking up and down the stairs, like, because they've allowed the fascia to get tight because that's part of how they support the loads. Well, Bud said that he didn't have to do that. He can remain mobile. He can do splits and everything else because he uses internal martial arts. So is that something that you do as well as part of having, it's not just lifting weights in the gym, but it's also using internal martial arts in your warm-ups and wherever else to make yourself strong and stay fluid? Talk about that a little bit.
That old person getting out of bed and walking off, that was me for 6 or 7 years. I don't know how many years. I kicked ass in the gym, in the dojo, and then I was so broken outside of that. I didn't know what it felt like to be not stiff, not sore. Yeah. for that many years. And I think after my first ACL tear, I dove into a lot of learning. So I started learning about how I need to release my fascia, just getting connected with all the misalignments in the body. And then when I moved here, I found my teacher Maya in Oakland, and she does a lot of internal martial arts. So she started teaching me. I mean, these movements look so, if you look at it from this, it looks like absolutely nothing. You're just kind of rotating through the hip a little bit here, looking an inch over there. It looks like absolutely nothing, but it's the hardest thing to do. And to realize that I cannot relax my shoulders just holding my arms out, that was kind of a light bulb moment for me. So that really got me interested in understanding it more, because it's not something I actually wanted to look into at any point, but she introduced it to me, and I realized how much more aware I am and how much more it helps me before doing a kettlebell session, for example. Yeah,
I noticed you use it for warm-ups. I've been seeing that on there. At the same time, I'm glad that you explained it, because people think like of the internal martial arts, partially because of how they're marketed, for lack of a better word. People think of it as like this mystical thing, right? And when you just said, okay, well, you realize that you can't relax your shoulders with your arms out, that like is such an easy way to explain it. Like, oh, okay, you're learning. Because think about it, like what makes people stiff is really, so one thing is the fascia. The other thing is that muscles are turned on that should be able to relax. And because they're always all the time contracted, you're tight, because it doesn't know that it can relax. And we don't even know how to relax them because we're out of touch with our bodies. How long did the process take? I mean, was this like something that took years to get to the point where you're like, okay, now I can, or are you still?
I'm still in the process.
I'm still doing
the rest of my life.
Got you.
Yeah, I mean, some days are better than others. That's why I don't necessarily know how my training that day will feel. I have to go through my different movements. If I'm feeling stiff somewhere, I'm just not connecting with, I just can't release tension, then it may not be the best session for whatever I wanted to do that day, for example. But it's just the many years of JKD and a lot of this is the hardest part for me to learn how to manipulate better.
So with all the things you do, anybody who is watching this has probably seen your Instagram. And so if they see your social media profile, they may not understand how it all works together, because all they see is 1 minute you're doing knife fighting in the park, and then next thing you know, the next video you're doing kettlebell work, you're doing kettlebell get-ups in your living room. Oh, now she's she's, like I said, hitting the cat scratching post with a stick. All right, now she's squatting. Now she's so. Take me through like a typical workout week, and just show me like, okay, this is. What does your schedule look like in general?
Well, right now, since COVID started, I gifted myself the ability to have more time to learn something new. So I'm diving into kettlebells. I want to learn everything I can about kettlebells, because I've been self-taught with kettlebells from the beginning. So I hired my coach, Denzel Allen, and that is a 5-day-a-week schedule. And he understands my training with martial arts, the Filipino martial arts, and all the types of movements I need to do, that I need to maintain. And he understands the internal aspect as well. So I have the kettlebells 5 days a week, and then the 2 days off will either be running. That's just, I hate it, so I need to do it. Yeah, and then or hiking. So I don't want to overdo it on my days off. It's my active recovery days. And then I'll have my 1 day a week with my training partner, which will usually do FMA CLOT blend. Kind of more difficult now during COVID. We want to try and not be in each other's faces too much, but and then I'll either one of the days, if I'm not running, I'll just go heavy on the bag, shadow box, 10 rounds, 6 to 12 rounds on the bag, and that's my favorite day.
Okay, so but are those 5 days consecutive? So is it is it Monday through Friday, or is it go 3 days, take a break, go 2 days, take a break?
Thursday and Saturday are my days off. or off from the kettlebells. And then those will be my time to take for myself. So that'll be my learning time, my play time, just explore, work with a pendulum, flow, or go running after or before. But I will also flow and do the internal stuff either as a warm up or a cool down, depending how my day aligns.
As a home gym owner, it's very easy to spend too much time in the gym to where it becomes counterproductive. So do you like doing multiple sessions throughout the day, like as a movement snack? Or do you prefer to say, okay, well, like Ross Animate will go in his home gym and he'll just say, all right, I'm starting here and I don't leave until I'm done with what I needed to do for the day. So which way do you like to go?
In a perfect world, if I don't have clients all day in the morning, for example, I do really like to move my body more than once a day.
Okay.
So ideally, and I used to do this for 7 years until I got busier, it would be 2 to 3 sessions a day.
Right.
Overdone because I was training for competition, but morning fasted 2 trainings and then 1 in the evening. Okay. So that's my ideal. I like to break it up throughout the day, because if I'm training for an hour and then I find myself sitting for too long working or getting distracted, I still don't feel my best.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that I've gotten more and more into recently, because I actually saw a post from one of the writers for our magazine, Jim Hallen, and he's talking about how basically you're going to burn more calories in the time outside of the workout than you are, in the time during the workout, using like the whole NEPA, or some people call it NEAT or whatever. And so that's when I decided, hey, let's break this up and have a bunch of short little hits, so that it's really easy for me to say, okay, I'm going to take 15 minutes here. I've been sitting at my desk for too long. I'm going to take 15 minutes and I'm going to hit the back. Or I'm going to take 30 minutes. I'm going to lift weights. And I actually usually even break the weight. So I say I lift weights every other day, right? So I don't even do like the full session in one. So I'll do the strength portion. So like today, for example, I bench pressed, and then there's a break, and then come back and you do like the accessory work. So each session is only maybe 30 minutes, right? As opposed to just whatever, because you're getting that constant metabolic hit. Do you find that helps you in work too? Because you're constantly getting that break, keeps the brain flowing?
I mean, to get rejuvenated, absolutely. Like if you have the luxury of working for yourself and you could break up your day that way, or if you're a new parent and you can't get that full hour in, do whatever you can to get it in throughout the day. But I think it's also just the most natural thing for our bodies, because we're not meant to be in the office 8 hours a day. Right. So if you can break it up throughout the day, I think that's perfect.
You had this huge smile on your face when you got I guess it was your first Olympic barbell in 2018. Mm-hmm. I love that look on your face, because every home gym meathead can relate to how you feel when you get some new toys for your gym, right? But I also like that you call your gym a dojo. So how do you approach adding equipment? Because we've already talked about how your main focus is martial arts, and now you've decided you want to do kettlebells. How do you decide something is going to come home and live with you?
Yeah. So I get anxiety owning stuff, because I've immigrated so many times in my life, and so many moves I'm just traumatized from owning, especially heavy things. This is the most amount of stuff I've ever had in my life now. Wow, okay. So kettlebells, I don't think twice, especially right now. If it's in stock in Kettlebell Kings, I'm getting it immediately. But I just decide, do I want doubles of something, or am I going heavier? So it depends what my goal is for the next 3 months in that period of time, for example. Other equipment, I mean, it's all pretty basic. I don't need that many plates. I'm not trying to go into Olympic lifting. I just want maintenance in that area, and then improve kettlebells for the time being. The rack, all I need is a hook in the ceiling for my pendulum work. That's a tennis ball filled with something, and then I can flow around with it. Right. Some equipment I did buy that I'm regretting just buying poor quality equipment. Like the rack is not great, and I will probably replace it. And the bench I actually don't use. So because I'm not doing bench presses on the bench, I'm doing it laying down. mostly with bells.
So you do floor presses? Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I don't really use that. But in terms of other equipment, training swords and all the fun toys, yeah, I don't have
Okay.
that much.
Okay. So do you do like gymnastics rings and things like that?
I have that set up on the pull-up bar.
Yeah.
And resistance bands. I'm very much pro resistance bands. I know some people don't, but for me, with my JKD background, absolutely.
Okay.
And then what else do I have? Bosu ball. Also, I know a lot of people hate on it, but it transformed my ACL rehab.
Okay. Did you get hurt training?
It's always for competition training. I don't get hurt
Right.
doing my own stuff. I'm very well connected with the body, but combat sports, you get kicked in the leg by a 200-pound man, and the ACL on a small person will tear.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. What other equipment do I have? Dip bars. I think that's it. Okay. Battle ropes. I have battle ropes, which I got because I couldn't run after my second ACL reconstruction. So, and I still want to get my heart rate up, and I didn't want to just do chain punching. So that was a really nice way of doing seated training. I had to get really creative with all my stuff in the house for a seated training.
Did you find yourself getting stronger in like certain body parts because you couldn't train, so you had to sit down?
Yeah.
There's I think I saw a video of you doing some Z presses. Some Z presses. Did you find that you're actually building muscle in areas that you normally wouldn't because you couldn't train your legs?
Yeah, I mean, I had all that strength and all those movements already in my program, but I was doing so much more of it because it's all I could do. Like half my body I just couldn't use for strength during the rehab months. So yeah, especially after the first ACL reconstruction, my upper body got really jacked. I was so strong, but I had little chicken legs.
Let's talk about nutrition. We kind of touched on this. So you said when you were a college student, you developed some unhealthy practices, slouching over textbooks, eating processed foods, and that you discovered that movement was only part of your solution. It's interesting that you include fasting as part of your nutritional approach.
My mom introduced me to it back in high school when I was, I think, grade 11 or 12, and she's been doing it since she was young. It's, I think, really common in Eastern Europe where we're from. Okay. So she introduced me to that, and then I think 7 years ago, I wanted to integrate it into my daily life, and it just became my lifestyle every day. So intermittent every day, which I don't consider a fast anymore. That's just what I do. I wake up, I don't eat, I feel great, and I just save it until 12 or 1 p.m.
Right.
And then extended, I used to do weekly, but at that point I was quite light. I was 2 weight classes lighter back then. Okay. So I just couldn't lose any more weight because there was no fight available at that weight class. So then I went every other week, and then and I would play with going 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. Maximum I ever did was 5 days. Okay. But I wasn't sure what to expect because I didn't do this sort of thing when I was in high school or college. But with intermittent fasting, my sleep improved immediately, just the quality. I didn't feel like a zombie in the morning. Puffy face, I didn't have that. So I didn't need to run for my coffee immediately. And then inflammation in the body, well, especially with the ACL, that was my main reason for wanting to do that because of the ACL injury. I just wanted to get rid of all the inflammation in my body. And diabetes runs in my family. So I really want to make sure that my insulin levels are in check, and I love sugar. So I don't want to quit sugar, but I want to make sure it's under control. And lots of other benefits. But with the 5-day fast that I did recently, my last one, that was the most benefit I've ever seen. So I had excruciating pain after my second ACL reconstruction before the surgery I had this year. The pin that keeps the new ligament in, that was actually sticking out of my bone and rubbing up against my IT band, and they didn't know why or how. They didn't know what the problem was. It was unbearable pain for 4 months. So I decided to do a fast, 5 days. That pain went away maybe 80-90%. I still needed the surgery to snip off the pin, but after that I was sold. I believe in it. Extended fasts really heal the body.
So
like
how
once
often
you get
do you
into
fast?
that like extended fast,
Yeah.
I try to do once a month now.
Okay.
I'll do 40 hours. That's
Okay.
kind of my minimum, because the 40 hours fits in with the intermittent fasting. Sometimes I'll go for 72 hours, or not 72, well, 60, whatever fits in with the intermittent fasting.
Okay.
5 days is if I'm suffering, if there's something I want to heal. But
Gotcha.
you want to do between 2 and 3 days for autophagy. So just eat, the body will eat those cells that are broken, unnecessary, just heal itself.
A lot of people don't realize that. I think it's on after your second day. Well, it varies depending on where you are, but between your second and third day, you actually go into ketosis. And so you'll reap some of the same benefits that people get from doing the ketogenic diet. You actually go into ketosis and you get it faster and you're the nutrition coach. So with a ketogenic diet, I think you don't go into ketosis until like maybe the 5th or 6th day. Whereas with fasting, it's like on the 3rd day, boom, you're in ketosis.
48 hours it starts. I mean, it's not clear cut, but around 48 hours. And then it just keeps going up by 30%. And then at around 72 hours is kind of where you've reaped all the benefits. And then it's, that's when I'm happy. I got to my day 3, and then I can break the fast.
So what are like some tips you give your clients if they decide that they want to explore fasting to help make that first week easier?
Almost all my clients do intermittent.
Okay.
And some have expressed going extended. I won't introduce extended unless it's like second nature, intermittent. Like that can't feel like a struggle. Mentally, that has to be easy. And then if that's mentally easy, then you can challenge yourself and go 24 hours, for example, or 36, or maybe 40. It depends on the person's personality. Some people are all or nothing. But it also takes some time to play with recognizing the feeling of hunger and not panicking. So many people will panic. Their stomach rumbles and they're not used to that feeling. And I think that's so unnatural to not know what hunger feels like. I mean, we're made for fasting. Cave people never ate every single day. If they're completely new, like now I don't feel like I need anything but water, sometimes mineral water to spoil myself with some lemon, make it fancy. But broth, I'll start them with broth. So either vegetable broth or meat broth if they're not vegetarian. And that makes sure that they're hydrated throughout the day, because it's really hard to balance the hydration, and also your adrenaline's probably going to be pumping after the 24 hours. So just recognizing that, okay, at this point you may need to slow down because your adrenaline is pumping harder. But the first thing I would tell them is keep really busy and keep moving. Like go for a 3-hour walk if you have the time. The busier you are, the more movement you're doing, because your body, the metabolic rate is increasing. Your body's telling you go out and hunt. Like your body wants to be out there and moving and doing stuff.
Go find some food.
Yeah. So go for a hike, go for a long walk, go try some movement at the gym, some animal flow, whatever it is, if you don't want to go too heavy, but stay really busy. Don't just sit on the couch inside and count the hours down.
What about coming off the fast? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like in the weeks afterwards, now you're able to eat what you want. And sometimes there's a tendency to kind of binge. So how do you coach through that pitfall?
So I stay away from numbers. Especially if you're in the intermittent fasting zone, you don't have that many hours that you can sneak in however many snacks and however many meals. You're just not going to feel good. So I like feasting and fasting, right? You feast and then you fast. I'm not saying binge all the time and then fast, but it's a natural rhythm to your social life, to everything, just not to panic, but to recognize that level of, are you satisfied? Are you 80% satisfied? Are you 90% satisfied? Or did you go overboard and not feel great then? And just recognizing that food coma versus, okay, I feel energized now. Like that's enough energy to take me through the rest of the day effectively.
So let's give people some homework. For anybody who's curious, wants to start their own journey, what are some books that you recommend that they try?
So for nutrition, especially fasting, anything by Dr. Jason Fung.
Okay.
He packages it all in a really digestible way.
Okay.
So it's not too sciencey, but it's really good information. And there's different ones specifically for diabetes or just someone looking to learn about all these different types of fasts, intermittent, extended, and how many days extended. He writes really well. So anything by him is fantastic.
All right. So let's say somebody has watched this and they are intrigued and they want to see all the different things that you can do. How do they follow you on social media? Give us your Instagram, your email, or especially if somebody wants to reach out to you for coaching or they're curious about, the nutrition help or anything else that you do.
So my website is alinaradinsky.com. Instagram is @aradinsky, and Gmail, alinaradinsky@gmail.com. Easy. Well, my name for everything.
Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Alina. As always, please make sure that you subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any of my videos, and please consider sharing this video with a friend who's into martial arts and might enjoy it, because that's how we grow. Remember that whether you work out in an elaborate garage gym or just a little space in the corner of your living room, your home gym is the best gym in town because it is custom tailored for you. Stay home, stay strong, and I'll see you next time.